Hey there, friends. So, I've had a couple of frustrating days here in the shop. Uh, Started off with me dropping my God is Love mug full of coffee and shattering that all over the shop floor. And since then, I have destroyed a couple of Christmas gifts, including one that is supposed to go to my mother here in just a couple of hours. So, uh, don't know what I'm going to do about that. But I thought I would take a step back, relax, have a conversation with some of my friends, and maybe regroup a little bit. So a little bit different format here, and I hope you like this. But a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on the pinch rod and how you can use the pinch rod for greater accuracy. And I'm shocked and amazed at actually how well that video did. It's my best performing video by far. And I really appreciate all the comments that I got. So the comments really fall into three categories. One is just the general encouragement. Thank you very much. Great information. Going to put it to use. So a lot of that, and I really do appreciate that encouragement. And that really helps me a lot. The second group comes in the form of questions, comments. And we'll go through the comments, but I didn't quite explain it well enough. They had some follow-up questions, so that's category number two. Category number three, which I really find fascinating, is other people that have used some variation of the pinch rod have come in with suggestions, comments, things like that. And man, when I get that, I just think that's amazing. That's part of the reason why I do this, is to get feedback from people with more experience, and I just absolutely love it. So let's go through some of the comments and answer some of the questions. But I really want to share with you the tips that were dropped in the comments from some more experienced people. So um, right at the top of the list, this comes from a viewer named Control Freak. And he says that Veritas makes a brass set if you're into fancy. I was not really familiar with that, so I looked it up. I may, if I can find it again, I may drop a link down below. That is a lifetime tool. It's a bit pricey, but it looks to be extremely well made. They don't call it a pinch rod. They had another name for it, but the rods themselves are made out of solid brass. The fittings, I believe, were brass as well. So that's a tool. If you're going to invest in that, you're going to have it for the rest of your life. They also make a kit, basically this piece here. Then all you have to do is provide the wooden rods, and that worked. Seems to work extremely well if you want to buy some. Okay, let's see here. Simple Tools. This is Jawel Nofine. I'm sorry, I'm going to get some of these names wrong. I just don't know how to pronounce them. Simple Tools make the best solutions. I can't agree with that more. I've had a couple of people call me out for bad photography, not being able to see the product or the tool very well, and I appreciate that also. This is about the video itself. In the past, I've had people call me out for poor sound quality. In this case, the video just wasn't in good enough shape. So after we go through the comments, I'll actually show you. We'll go back into the pinch rod itself and hopefully clarify that just a little bit. So more than one people. So I'm not going to call out too many names there, but it was more than one. Okay, here's one from Mike King 7470, and he says that in a pinch, and he even puts pinch with, sorry. I thought it was funny, by the way. He says in a pinch, he will use scrap and a spring clamp. So Tell you what, let's switch camera angles here so maybe you get a better view of that. I'm working off two monitors, so okay. So, woo, just two pieces of wood. All right, so if we want to get the inside measurement like that, we would spread that out and then put a clamp on there. How's that? That's pretty cool. Cheap solution. Some limitations, you know, you don't want to get too big, but in these smaller situations, you know, I think that's pretty clever. This is just a spring binder clamp, but you could use your regular spring clamp as well. So, Mike, thank you. Mike King 7470, thank you for that recommendation. Oh, okay, let's get back. Change to the other one. All right. All right, here's another one. Couldn't see it very well. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But again, thank you for that. Let's see. All right, here's one. Here's a question. Question is corner to corner distance comparison accurate for squareness? And why not draw an accurate rectangle and compare that up? So, two comments. One, if you are a math geek like I am, the answer to that question is yes. That is the most accurate way to measure squareness. And that is part, if you remember your geometry, and if you remember your geometry back in high school, a square, b square equals c square. That's the hypotenuse. If the hypotenuse is equal, then you know you have two right angles. And it's actually part of the definition of a perfect rectangle is that your cross your cross diameters are exactly equal. So yes, it is an accurate way of measuring squareness. To your other point, though, is there is no one way of doing things. There's all kinds of solutions for smaller pieces where you know your square might be nearly the full size of your box. That's a perfectly legitimate way of doing it. Having a marking on the table or a jig on the table is a perfectly way to do it. One of the wood turners that I like to watch by the name of Mike Peace, he has this saying, and again, I'm going to butcher it because I didn't look it up to hear, but he says when he's demonstrating a technique, he will make the comment that it's not the only way, and it may not be the best way, but it's my way and my way of doing things. And I like that. And I want you, as you're watching the different techniques that I do, please remember, it's not the only way. It may not be the best way, but it is the way that works for me. And you as a woodworker get to pick what you want. That's one of the joys of woodworking is there's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same task. So, Rodney 6320, thank you for that question. Okay. Measure and cut, and it still comes up too short. Been there, done that. Okay, here's one. Inches. The whole world is metric. Well, that's not exactly true. There's a big old blob of real estate right in the middle of North America that is not metric. And there's a lot of advantages to metric. I get that. But when I go to the hardware store and I look for this aluminum tubing, you don't find this tubing in millimeters, you find it in inches. Okay, so we start with inches, we work with inches. For those of you that are using metric and are good at it, more power to you. Certainly can see the benefits of that, but on this side of the pond, we have not made the switch. Or maybe I should say, not this side of the pond, in our little block of the world, we haven't made the switch yet. So it's not the whole world. Let's see, used them before. Let's see. Okay, here's one from Jimbo878. Jimbo878 says that he uses a telescopic car aerial. All right. I'm assuming he is on the other side of the pond, and what we would call an antenna. So he uses a broken car antenna or car aerial, and he has pinched the two ends to get the sharp points to get into corners. So if you've got access to anything like that, great idea. I like that. Let's see, works like a dream. Okay. P dioder. Dioder. Sorry for butchering the name. Okay. He says that if you're going into aluminum, if you modify the bolt itself, you actually don't need a tap. Okay. You need to taper this in here, put a little slit in it, kind of like a wood screw, he says. And the aluminum is soft enough that you don't need a tap. Wish I had known that before I went out and bought the tap. But great tip. I'm going to have to try that in the future. Let's see here. We've got a couple more. Works great for custom drawer sides. There's another one in here. I saw it earlier. I don't know what I did with it. I've scrolled on my there, and I apologize. There was a commenter that said that he uses this technique for building chairs, custom chairs, and that's actually what got me thinking about this, is because one of my projects that I'll be building in the future is a stool for the bench. And I was thinking about how to measure for stretchers and things like that. And he said that's what he does. He builds custom chairs and uses the pinch rod all the time for stretchers and back slats. So very, very interesting, and certainly I'll be putting that to use. Okay, so that brings us to Keith Snyder. Keith Snyder 6584. Keith Snyder 6584. And he made the comment that he does this all the time, but what he will take is a piece of 1 inch or 1/2 inch pipe, and then he'll take a dowel and cut the dowel in half, and then he welds on a nut and a thread. I don't know how to weld. Probably will never ever weld, but the idea of using pipe and a dowel, I mean, that makes it nice and easy. So I had some 1/2 inch copper pipe and some 1/2 inch dowels laying around the shop because I can't throw anything away. So I thought I'd give it a try. So I, put my threaded screw in here, cut off just a little chunk, took a 1/2 inch dowel, cut that in half. And I tell you what, let's go back over to the other camera. So maybe we get a better view of that. All right, just a piece of 1/2 inch copper pipe with our screw in there. I took the 1/2 inch dowel and cut that in half. Okay. And now it works just like my square tubing, but it actually, I think, works a little bit better. So the challenge, of course, is ripping a dowel and making it perfectly straight. But even if you get off center, like one end's a little thicker than the other end, as long as you keep it lined up properly, then you're going to be okay. All right, so this I actually need it a I needed a piece, a pinch rod for this small box that I'm making, because this is the pinch rod that I originally made, nice small one. Okay, so this actually this was my second one, I think. So this was number 2. But this is too small. I mean too large to go across there. All right, so I needed a mini pinch rod. So I just took this copper tubing, made this. So this brings us to the question of what do you do with a pinch rod? All right, and hopefully this will help clarify this. So this, what you see right here, is the remnants of the box that I blew up. Actually, what I did, and this is really embarrassing, is I was cutting off the lid, and I made one cut, and then when I rotated the piece, I actually flipped it. So instead of cutting directly along the same line, I was now cutting into the main box itself. Just ruined the piece. Just, you know, leads me to believe that power tools are just a way to ruin expensive wood much faster. All right. So what do? When we're looking for the lid or the bottom, we would come in here. Let's see. Loosen that up. Come in here like that. All right. So now you have the measurement for the bottom piece and the top panel. Okay. Now I took this right over to the table saw. Didn't do any adjustments. Just used this to set the width of my fence, and the panel that came out was perfect. All right. So you get the inside measurements of your groove like that. Okay. So I then had to pull out this one, which is a little bit bigger, and do the same thing going this way. Get that in the middle. Okay. Then that becomes the measurement of the length of the board. All right. So what does this entail? Again, the commenter said that you really couldn't see the pinch rod very well, and I apologize for that, but hopefully this will work. So this particular one is just a piece of 3/4 by 3/4 inch aluminum stock. Why 3/4 by 3/4? It's because that's what the hardware store had. You could use any size, doesn't really matter. You just rip then the wooden pieces to be the same diameter, inside diameter of your aluminum tubing, and the thickness to be roughly half of the aluminum tubing, or whatever else you're using. Copper pipe, galvanized pipe, I mean, anything, quite honestly, would work. And then the thumb screw just allows you to tighten down like that. You can expand it to whatever size you want. So I've got a series of these now. I've got this one, which is roughly 12 inches. Okay. This one that starts out at about 4 inches. So it'll go up to roughly 8 inches. This one will go up to 36 inches. And then I made one in the middle, which let's see, can I find it? All right, so this is going to get me roughly 24 inches. Easy to make. Okay, easy to make. Easy to make. Again, some people have commented on the thumb screw will mess up the wood, and I'm already starting to get some marks in there. A couple of shavings with the plane takes that right out. Okay, friends, I think that's going to do it. I actually feel a little bit calmer now after um, destroying my gifts. I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I guess maybe I just have to tell mom she's going to get her gift late. Um, I, am sure I am not the only one that's been there. So, again, friends, I honestly cannot tell you how much I appreciate the comments, the questions, the suggestions. I do read them all. I respond to as many as I can. I think I've got a pretty good track record of getting them all, but I'm sure I've probably missed some. And if so, I apologize for that. But I appreciate the words of encouragement, the questions, the comments, the tips. Um, and let me know whether or not you actually like this particular style of video and kind of reviewing some of the tips that I got from my viewers out there, because I've learned a lot from these viewers, and I hope you've learned a lot as well. Okay, friends, Christmas right around the corner. All right, everyone, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and God bless you all.